How are we doing today, guys? It's Jesse with the Common Man Corpus Christi, bringing you news and politics through a common sense lens. And we've got some interesting stories to get into today. I'm only going to bring you a couple today because I think these are really the important ones that we're working on. I saw this one first thing this morning, and it really kind of blew me away. It was rather earth-shattering, at least personally I thought so. So let's get into that. So this is from thedailymail.com. German husband kills himself, his wife, and his 3 young girls after he faked a COVID jab certificate and feared his children would be taken away when it was discovered. Sorry about all the vehicles in the background. David R. said in a note found by police that he forged a COVID jab pass for his wife. Her employer found out, prompting him to fear arrest and losing their children. David killed wife Linda and kids Lenny, Janny, Ruby at Cohen's Worcestershire home. Officers were called by witnesses who said they saw lifeless bodies in the house. God, this is horrible. A man killed himself, his wife, and 3 young girls after he faked a COVID-19 jab certificate and feared his children would be taken away when it was discovered. Police found 2 adults, both 40, and 3 children aged 4, 8, and 10, dead from gunshot head wounds in a family home in Cohen's I'm not even going to pronounce that, south of Berlin on Saturday. In a pages-long farewell note found by the police, the man named as David R. said he forged a vaccination certificate for his wife, Linda. Her employer had found out, prompting the couple to fear that they would be arrested and lose their children, Lenny, Janny, Ruby. Prosecutor Gernot Batalon told news agency DPA. Police were called to the house on Saturday after being alerted by witnesses who had seen lifeless bodies in the house. Pictures of the young family alongside candles and teddies were left outside the property in tribute. Submitting a fake COVID-19 vaccination certificate became a criminal offense 2 weeks ago and is punishable either by a fine or a year's jail term. There's the daughter, there's the family. Beautiful family. There's the house. This is horrible. Absolutely horrendous. Investigators suspect that the man killed his wife and children and then himself. They found a gun in the house, and it wasn't immediately clear whether it was the weapon used to fire the fatal shots. They found no indication that anyone else was present at the time or that anyone forced their way into the house. Police said autopsies on the 5 bodies were underway and will determine how long the family had been dead. The grisly case comes as Germany has been tightening up restrictions to try to stem a 4th wave of the coronavirus pandemic. The incoming German government wants to make COVID-19 vaccinations mandatory from March 16th for people working in hospitals, nursing homes, and other medical practices. A draft legislation seen by Reuters said staff working in these areas would have to prove they are vaccinated or recovered from COVID-19 or present a medical certificate to show they cannot be vaccinated by March 15th. Meanwhile, from last month, employees have been required to show that they are vaccinated, recovered, or test negative for COVID-19. German authorities agreed last week to bar the unvaccinated from access to all but the most essential businesses such as grocery stores, pharmacies, and bakeries. Meanwhile, nightclubs and music venues in areas where the incident rate is higher than 350 will be forced to close. Outdoor football stadiums will be limited to a maximum of 15,000 spectators, while indoor venues will be capped at 5,000. That's still a lot of people. School students will have to wear masks while private gatherings for unvaccinated people will be limited to 1 household. Why the hell are the kids still wearing masks? The Bundestag also last week debated a nationwide vaccine mandate with a view to making it law by February next year. Members will vote on the bill in early 2022. Outgoing Chancellor Angela Merkel has thrown her weight behind the move. Just 69% of Germany's population is vaccinated, lower than 74.2% who have had both jabs in Italy and 70.5% in France. Meanwhile, 69.3% of UK's population has had both jabs. And that's where their numbers are sitting. 7-day average coronavirus in Germany, coronavirus deaths per day in Germany. So, yeah. So that's the first article I wanted to bring you, and I wanted to bring this to your attention. Let's leave it on the family. I wanted to bring this to your attention because this is what happens when the whole damn world loses their mind and thinks that if they don't comply with these mandates if they don't fall in line with a good portion of the population that has completely gone insane because of COVID. This is what happens. This man literally feared his children were going to be taken from him because of this. Can you imagine living in Germany, knowing the history of your own country, and thinking that the government is going to take your children from you because you didn't get a medical procedure or you faked one so your wife could keep working and providing for your family? This is what this psychosis has done. You have literally got these people so terrified. Now, given this guy might have had a history of mental illness, we don't know that. We probably will never know that. But there's a lot of people with a history of mental illness that live very productive lives. But sometimes all it takes is one thing to trigger them and send them over the edge. And maybe that's what it was for this guy. Terrified of losing his children. How many of us can relate to that? I got 4 kids. There is nothing I would not do to stop someone from taking them. From my cold, dead hands will you take my children. But Germany is not like that. They don't have that American spirit. They don't have that American gusto. They live in a world perpetually ran by one dictator after another pretending to be a democracy. So I just want to make sure you guys knew about this. I want to make sure you were informed about it. And I wanted to make sure you understand what compliance gets you. When the whole world around you complies, when all of us fall in line, people become desperate when they don't go along with the crowd. And no one should ever be this scared, be this afraid that something like this is going to happen. Now, maybe the initial reports are wrong. Maybe his thing was all BS. But apparently, their work knew. So at least part of this is true. So you think about that. When you get on your knees in front of your employer and beg for your job saying you're willing to take the shot. Because that's what happened in Germany. The majority of them did. And then this guy felt outnumbered. I hope you all realize where this goes and how much worse this is going to get. And so this might seem unrelated, but I'm gonna tag this in one way or the other, and you're gonna kind of understand how I tie this in together. So let's get rid of this little daily sign-up briefing thing here. No, I don't want daily briefings from Axios. So this is why this article leads up to why I'm telling you we can't comply our way out of this. You can't just go with this and think it's all going to be okay. All right, so check this out. Young Dems more likely to despise the other party. How warped is that? Despise somebody just because of their political views. College students who would not blank someone who voted for the opposing presidential candidate. Go out on a date with. Democrats, 71%. Republicans, 31%. That's a huge gap. Shop at or support a business of. 41% Democrat, 7% Republican. Be friends with. 37% of Democrats who responded to this survey say they would not be friends with somebody who voted for the other party. 5% on Republicans. Work for. 30%. 7% for Republicans. You see how quickly these numbers go down? All right, let's get into this. Nearly a quarter of college students wouldn't be friends with someone who voted for the other presidential candidate, with Democrats far more likely to dismiss people than the Republicans, according to New Generation Lab Axios polling. Why it matters. Partisan divides as each side inhibits parallel political, cultural, and media universes make a future of discord and distrust in the U.S. all the more likely. By the numbers, 5% of Republicans said they wouldn't be friends with someone from the opposite party compared to 37% of Democrats. 71% of Democrats wouldn't go on a date with someone opposing views versus 31% of Republicans. 30% of Democrats and 7% of Republicans wouldn't work for someone who voted differently from them. Between the lines, Democrats argue that the modern GOP positions spearheaded by former President Trump are far outside of the mainstream and polite conversations. Yeah, okay. Some have expressed unyielding positions on matter of identity, including abortion, LGBTQ rights, and immigration, where they argue human rights and not just policy differences are at stake. All right, I'm going to stop right there, okay? The LGBTQ rights is absolute garbage and bullshit. President Trump is the first president in history to get elected running saying that he agreed with gay marriage. So don't you even give me that bullshit, okay? That's absolute garbage. And yes, I'm sorry, we don't want to kill babies, and yes, we believe we should have secure borders. If you can't be a reasonable person about those things, then get bent, because even Obama knew that. Obama deported more people than Bush, okay? So let's get that out of the way right now. Women are more likely than men to take a strong partisan stance in their personal choices. 41% of women would go on a date with someone who voted for the opposing candidate, compared to 67% of men. Methodology, the study was conducted from November 18th to 22nd, representing a sample of 850 students nationwide from 2-year and 4-year schools. Just 68% of women compared to 84% of men would shop or support at the business of someone of the other party. All right, now let me explain to you why I brought this article up and why I think it ties into the original article, okay? Because this is something people need to understand. The other side that we are dealing with looks at us with absolute disgust and disdain. They have no desire to talk to us. They have no desire to communicate with us. Most of them have no desire to sit down and even try to reason out our arguments. They don't want to listen. They don't care. You will find, if you go and search for it, you will find video after video on the internet of people. It just happened with James O'Keefe, I think on Monday or Tuesday. He went to some protesters to try to talk to them why they were protesting and why they were objecting to him specifically. There was literally activists stopping other activists from engaging with him and just having a polite conversation on a public sidewalk. Okay? That's how these activists are trained. Don't talk, don't engage. Why? What do you fear so much? I have this in my own personal life. I have someone who is very involved in my family matters who absolutely refuses to discuss a single thing with me about the coof. Why? What are you so afraid of? Do you think that our facts and our figures and our logic and our reason actually might make sense to your brainwashed mind? Or is it those that are in charge are afraid that know that their peons are just brainwashed little idiots that follow whatever MSNBC and CNN say and believe? Maybe that's what it is. Maybe you're afraid that if somebody actually comes at them with compassion and logic and reason, your whole base will be destroyed. And we have evidence of that. Look at Loudoun County, Virginia, and what just happened in the last election cycle there just this last fall. Look at the bloodbath that happened in Virginia. Look at what happened in New Jersey. They know our side's arguments are better and that they win. That's why they try to stop their own foot soldiers from even engaging with us. Let me explain why this ties back into the other side of that story about the family, about the father who just killed his whole family because he was afraid of getting his children taken because of COVID restrictions. The cult on the other side doesn't care. They will not engage. They will not take to logic. COVID stan is real and it is a cult. These people will not engage. They will not see reason. They will not see logic. Right here in Corpus Christi, in our very own Nueces County, you will see that with our county public health department, ran by the dear, sweet, horrible, rotten, miserable piece of Barbara Canales. Remember her? The one who shut our beaches down last year, where you could actually go outside and get some vitamin D and get healthier, exercise, all of those kind of things. Try to go to her with logic, reason, stats, statistics. If it was up to her, we'd all still be locked down and every one of your kids would have a mask on in school. They would have their muzzles on. You can't reason with these people. You cannot sit down and have quiet, complete conversations with them, not unhinged conversations. competent conversations. You can't sit down with them and have competent conversations because they don't want to listen to reason and logic. You could bring 1 million medical experts in front of them with 1 million stats and 1 million figures, and it wouldn't matter. These people are pumping away straightforward because it's a cult, and they bow down to the altar of Fauci. They made candles of the man. They had his face on underwear. These people are psychopaths. And if you comply, they will keep pushing. There's a really good book called Ordinary Men that you should read. It explains how the Nazis got the Polish police to fall in line and become their Gestapo. It's really simple. It's a psychological trick. You push somebody just beyond their point of where they normally would stand on things, and then as right as about to rebel, you back up, and then you push them a little farther, and you keep going, and you keep going, and you keep going. And then you see what happened to the Polish police. That's what these people are doing. They keep pushing. Let's just do 2 weeks to flatten the curve, and then we'll all get back to normal. Got to save the hospitals. Yeah. How's that 2 weeks to flatten the curve working out for you? What are we at, 18 months now in some places? California, New York, look what's going on there. When you comply even an inch with these idiots, with these cultists, with these psychopaths, they will push you again, and they will push you again, and they will push you again every little inch that they can get. And eventually, you're so fearful of your life that you'll do psychotic things to your own children because you're so afraid of what they're going to do to you. So to not be completely doom and gloom, stand up, be heard. There are protests going on all over the world right now. Follow me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter, Common Man Corpus Christi, or at Jesse Carlson. Find me on both. You will see the protests. They are happening everywhere. We are winning court case after court case. Biden's mandates are getting struck down every other day, it seems like. Another blow, another punch in the gut of the unconstitutional vaccine mandates. If you want to get the shot, go ahead. Talk to your doctor. Be smart about it. Talk to your doctor. But no mandates. You will not mandate a medical procedure to me or anyone I know just to live our lives and work. Stand up. Say no. Our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honors. That's what we pledge to stop this encroachment. Because if we don't stop it now, we'll be the ones trying to look our children in the eyes when the gulags come. Think it's funny? Think it's hyperbolic? Look at Australia. That's exactly what's happening. They are snatching people from their homes and forcing them into concentration camps. This isn't a joke. These are the dark ages of our generation. And if we do not stand up and stop this now, it will be our children and our grandchildren still fighting this fight. Stand up. Be heard. You are not alone. This is Jesse Carlson with the Common Man Corpus Christi, bringing you news and politics through a common sense lens. Thanks, guys.